Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. Sean and I were honored to be invited to moderate a panel at the CureDuchenne FUTURES Conference this year, featuring a few new friends living with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. Muscular dystrophies are a group of genetic disorders characterized by muscle weakness. Duchenne is the most common and severe form, caused by loss of a protein called dystrophin. Historically, most boys who have Duchenne do not survive beyond their late 20s, and those that do are using a wheelchair by the age of 12 and experience social isolation. The simplest of tasks become difficult, and in later stages, heart and breathing muscles begin to fail. Nearly 15,000 boys are living with the disease in the United States alone, and over 300,000 worldwide. The disorder knows no cultural, economic, or social boundaries. CureDuchenne breaks the traditional charitable mold and balances passion with business acumen. Their venture philanthropy model funds groundbreaking research, early diagnosis, and treatment access. With pioneering education and support programs, CureDuchenne drives real change for those with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy and their loved ones. The panel you're about to hear was put together by CureDuchenne Cares, an interactive education and outreach program designed to provide the Duchenne community with the information, resources, and best practices for managing the challenges of Duchenne to help improve overall quality of life. Enjoy this conversation with our friends Jake and Glen.
We are so excited to be here. Kyle and I have been looking forward to this conversation. And before we get too far, we do have to give a nod to our friend, Tanner, who was supposed to be here as Kyle and I got stuck with Jake and Glen today, which we're looking forward to. We'll introduce them in a minute. But our friend Tanner is sitting this one out. There's a lot going on in his life at home. So he decided that being a part of the conversation today was just not the right time. So we wanted to say, Tanner, we love you. We're thinking about you. And you're already sorely missed in this conversation.
I agree. Yeah, we've become a team as we prepared for this panel. And, we're missing one of our members. So, Tanner, we love you, man.
We know we all have bad days, right? We all are up against hard things. And that's one of the reasons why we look forward to conversations like this, because like our panelists, Glenn and Jake are going to share, and many of you watching and listening at home, you have a different journey. Your experiences have been different than mine. FA is way different than Duchenne. But at the end of the day, we all share hopefully the same level of hope and this perspective of finding ways to make the most out of life. We're honored to be connected to CureDuchenne. We've had a great time meeting Jake and Glenn, and of course Tanner. And so we want to allow them a moment to reintroduce themselves to the community. A lot of people watching and listening at home probably already know these two guys, but for the sake of it, Jake, would you mind kicking us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you to the panel today.
Sure. Well, hi, everyone. As you've already heard, my name is Jake Marazzo. I'm 18 years old, and I'm living with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. I'm currently a freshman in college right now, which is going really well. I'm adjusting to it a lot better than I thought I would. And overall, this has been a really great experience. And I'm on this panel today because I sort of want to talk about my positive outlook on life and Duchenne, and knowing that despite living with the rare disease, you can still make the most out of life and still do fun things and still get out with people, and you still do have a quality of life there.
Thanks so much, Jake. We're going to dig a little more into your outlook on life a little bit later, but we want to let Glenn introduce himself. Hey, Glenn.
Hi, my name is Glen Dane Olison. I'm a 49-year-old man with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. I am an outlier, so that means my symptoms have been a little bit less than a lot with Duchenne, but I have been in a wheelchair for 28 years now, and I run an engineering business. I'm an engineer. I'm a DJ. I'm also a vlogger for the Duchenne Exchange. And the reason I'm here is to show people that it's not about what you can't do, it's about what you can do in life. And it's very important to believe in yourself and to put yourself out there to and tackle life despite having a disability or any hardship.
I love that you talk about being a DJ, because I look at your setup and I think, holy cow, this guy's way more professional than Kyle or I. And I'm just glad that you actually do it as a job, because now I feel better about myself.
Right now it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I love that. Well, one of the reasons I'm excited about the conversation is just the huge gap, right? The dichotomy between Jake just starting college and Glenn talking about being in a wheelchair for 20-some odd years. And so we have a lot to cover. And how do we get from college to where Glenn's at, or what do we do while we're in college? And we know a lot of people at home are probably in the same area of confusion and wondering, like, how in the world do I get through another day or a couple more years? Jake, I'm going to go back to you. Congratulations on starting college. That's going to be a big deal.
Thank you.
I assume it's your first time being away from mom and dad and kind of on your own.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely the first time being away for this long. I've been away for summer camps and things like that beforehand, but nothing like this.
So without getting yourself in trouble, what's the highlight?
I'd say the highlight is really just the people here. The people that are at this college are some of the nicest people I've met in a long time. I love all my professors. I love all my caretakers. And I just love all my friends that are here that I've made. And I think the social aspect is probably the highlight for me.
Mm-hmm. Have you found it easy to connect with people, or do you sense some hesitation, whether it's on your part or their part, because of your disabilities?
It was definitely tough in the beginning because I have to be away from the freshmen because the freshman dorms are not accessible. So I'm in one of the upperclassmen dorms with an accessible room. So it was a bit difficult because I was all the way across campus from the freshmen. But also, I was able to make friends through a friend of mine that actually goes here, who I was best friends with in high school. My friend is going here with me, and I've been making friends with her roommates and her floor mates, and been making friends with them. And I've tried out for a couple of clubs, and I've met people through that, and I've met people through my classes. And
Nice.
It was definitely tough in the beginning, but I think I'm definitely doing pretty good at it now.
You're adjusting. I'd love to hear that.
Jake, you said it was tough in the beginning and it's better now. What's that process like? How did you make it better? Because I imagine it's not just like, oh, it got better. Like, no, there was some work involved, right? And what was that, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was definitely putting myself out there that was the struggle at first, because that was something I didn't really do when I first came here because I was new and it was just a stressful situation and I was super nervous. But after a while being here, it definitely does get better. And, I've gotten a lot more used to the campus, a lot more used to the people that are here. And I feel like I'm doing a lot better now at being less shy and, just going up to people and saying hi and saying, tell me a little bit about yourself and making friends through that.
Yeah, it's incredible how we can break down the barrier if we're the one to make others feel comfortable, right? Like you said, approaching them and being like, hey, I want to know about you. And sure, yeah, I can tell you about me too. So, yeah, I like that.
We're going to jump back and forth between the two of you. Glenn, I'm curious, is there any part of you that wishes you can go back, I don't know, 25, 30 years and do college again or that period of life again? Or do you feel like, nope, I don't need it? Because some people, they wouldn't go back if they had the choice, right?
I'm pretty happy with my life. I think I made the right decisions. I don't really have any regrets in life. I don't think I'd want to go back and do it again because the fun part is the not knowing sometimes. So it makes life interesting.
Yeah, maybe it would take the fun away because you know it all now, right?
Right, exactly. I could predict that with the things I shouldn't have done and things like that. But the only thing I wish sometimes is that when I was younger, I wish I had chose the positive side quicker, sooner in life. It took me until I was in college. I remember one day I was putting my socks on in the morning, getting ready for a day, and I felt miserable. And I asked myself, do I want to keep being miserable in my life, or do I want to be happy and actually be content in my situation? And ever since that day, I've been on the other side, the positive and being content with my situation. I think it's very important to realize that at a point where if you can't change something, you're going to have to get used to it. You're going to have to adapt and conquer and get over it in a positive way.
I've heard it a lot. Life is what you make of it, right? The cards were dealt are the cards were dealt. We can't change those, but how you play them, that's where the real fun is.
Right, exactly, right. That's the hardest thing to do sometimes, but you have to be content in your situation.
The other thing that I really love about that story is you were just putting your socks on. Like, it was just an everyday thing. And we have the opportunity at every single moment to have that conversation with ourselves, right? Like,
right, exactly.
I'm just putting my socks on, but I can decide to be, this is going to be a great day or a terrible day. Like, you know,
exactly. And it was very hard for me to put my socks on at that time. It would take about 25 minutes. So it was a little bit of a struggle, but I realized that struggle, you actually have reward on the other side of that struggle.
Yeah.
By putting those socks on and getting out there and living your life. That's the most important thing.
So, Glenn, you talked about that moment where you realized it's going to be up to you to choose your attitude. What about work-wise? I know even me with, my disabilities are different, but I do get worried about the future someday. Am I going to be able to keep making money and supporting myself and any family along the way? So I'm curious for you, were you always driven to pursue work, or was there a turning point in life where you were like, all right, let's get after it? How did you?
I was pretty much always driven because my father owned a business. So I always wanted to work in that business with my father. And even at a young age, I would be taught a lot of the engineering skills and things. And I would go to work with my father often. And I would choose to get up early on a weekend and go to work with my dad instead of going outside and playing and doing things. So I think I had that drive very young, and I saw my dad constantly work in that business. And when I finished college, I actually quit college early to go work in the business. And that's where I've been working for the past 28 years.
Wow. So then I have to assume your dad and other people close to you were encouraging you along the way?
Yes, I was very encouraged. My parents encouraged me. They pushed me just like any other kid. They pushed me to do things pretty much. So I was pushed in that way, and I just thought, well, I can make it in life. I can succeed. There's no question about it. It just takes that drive and passion. Even if you're not disabled, it's very hard in life. So
sure.
The way I look at it, no matter if you have a struggle or not, it's going to be difficult in life. It might be a little bit more challenging with Duchenne, but you could make it. You can succeed if you put your mind to that.
Kyle and I recently interviewed a young man also with Duchenne, and he talked about as a child, his he has a sister as well, him and his sister. His parents treated him the same as, as any other quote unquote normal kid. And I think that, he attributes his outlook on life in his mid-20s, and he's got a full-time job and he's got a lot going on, but he attributes his success or his outlook on life to the fact that I was treated the same as a kid. My parents pushed me to succeed and go after what it is I want. Jake, would you say you're in that space right now, pursuing what you want? Do you feel like your family has been supportive, and are you on track to accomplish what it is that's important to you?
Yeah, definitely. I think my parents have been really supportive of me so far, being in college, and they've definitely missed me a lot, and they've been calling me a lot. And of course, I answer, and I just talk to them about my day and how everything's been going. And yeah, I definitely think I am getting closer to doing what I'd like to do after college. I'm actually going to be majoring in film and new media studies, so I feel like I'm definitely getting closer to that.
Jake, what draws you to film and media studies? What is it that you love about it?
I've definitely been into movies at a young age. I used to draw opening credits for movies on my whiteboard when I would go out to eat, and I didn't know many words because I was about 2-3 years old. So just write words like cat, dog on there as if they were opening movie credits. So I've definitely been into that sort of thing all of my life. And I just love movies. I just love the storytelling of it. I like the music that plays during it. And it's just, it definitely invokes wonder out of people, like it did for me at that age.
If we talk about family for a little bit, was there any hesitation on your parents' part about you going away to college?
I think, yeah, there definitely was, because we didn't know how this sort of thing would work, because my mom was nervous because nobody had really taken care of me besides her, on a regular basis. I of course had PCAs before that, but definitely nothing like this, to where they'd be getting me up and putting me to bed and helping me with everyday things on a daily basis without my mom being there. So that was definitely the main concern for us. And then also we just didn't know how, being on my own would really look. There was hesitation, but we always said we were going to do it. Like we said, you know what, there's going to be challenges with this, but we want him to have that college experience like everybody else would.
What have those challenges been so far? I mean, if you can take us through maybe just one of them or something, one big one that you've had so far, if any, or did you guys kind of think of everything and plan it out ahead?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely did come with challenges at first, like explaining to other people how to take care of me in a nice fashion. Because, I don't want to be rude to these people that are helping me out every day. So I definitely said that at the beginning. That's like, I'm going to explain everything I need in the best and, just be patient and be understanding of all of my PCAs. And I definitely think it was tougher in the beginning to explain things, but I definitely think I handled it pretty well, better than I ever thought I would.
That just gives you confidence that this is a sustainable situation, right? Like you can take care of yourself, obviously with the help of other people, but you just kind of work through every little thing. That's wonderful.
Maybe let's chat about that caregiving side of life for you too. Glenn, can you share about any experiences you've had, or maybe, good or bad? Obviously, 40-something years old, holding down jobs, doing your DJ stuff. I imagine you've had some help along the way. Has there been any trouble in that arena, or has it been smooth sailing?
Well,
I've had both.
I've had caregivers for about 25 years now. I had them since I was pretty young. I think when I was 25, I started having caregivers, and now they fully take care of me. So I have 14 hours a day of coverage. So my caregiver's with me all day, but that gives me my independent life. And I've had good and bad caregivers. I could probably sit here for 2 days and tell you all the stories I have from it, but I would say it's mostly good. I've had some bad caregivers, and usually you have to replace them, over time. Once in a while, people just can't understand the job, or they don't understand the scope of the job. They can't. There's a lot sometimes to take care of someone with Duchenne. There's a lot you have to learn how to use lifts, and you have to use cough assist machines and CPAPs and BiPAPs. And
in an earlier conversation while we were chatting before today, you talked about how important it is for you to get up and get dressed every day, even if you have nothing going on, like no appointments or anything. Can you talk a little bit about that again?
I just believe that when you wake up in the morning, if you don't get ready and do the things that you need to do for your day, that kind of ruins my day, at least. It doesn't give me that motivation. It doesn't inspire me. If I get lazy, it does not inspire me. It's not going to help me. So I realize to keep healthy, to keep ahead of the Duchenne, to actually be able to have the energy to go out, I need to get up every day and do what I need to do to live that day, to enjoy that day, to get up and brush my teeth, to make sure I do the cough assist machine, make sure that I get dressed and I get outside and I get some sunshine, and I get some fresh air. All those things I think have kept me going in this life, because every day I at least have that.
Glenn, you're so driven. Are there days that you're just like, I want to stay in bed today? This is ridiculous.
Actually, no, I don't ever stay in bed. My caregivers are always surprised. They come in the morning, do you want to relax? I said, no, I'm ready to get up, no matter what time it is. I sleep about 6 hours a night. I'm usually awake at 5 in the morning every day. It just, my mind's always going, and I think that's helped me a lot.
Jake, what about you? What are your, do you enjoy sleeping in and feeling kind of on the lazy side? Not necessarily in a bad way, but just maybe want to catch up on rest or lay low.
Yeah, I'm also definitely an early riser like Glenn is. I get up pretty early in the mornings, although I think 5 is a bit of a stretch in my opinion, but I'll usually get up at, 7 o'clock in the mornings and just get ready for the day. Of course, there's some times where like I had a busy day yesterday. I just kind of want to sleep in for a little bit. But it's not, until the afternoon. Like it's usually at the latest, like 9:30. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get up. I want to have a long day and a fun day.
Not going to lie. I'm kind of jealous of people like you. I know people say, if you want to be a morning person, you just got to make it happen. And that's just not me. I'm happy to be in bed until noon.
We like you just the way you are, Sean. So as much crap as everyone gives you, just, we love the fact that you just brush it off.
Yeah. Jake, I'm going to talk a little bit more about school. How are you finding or, keeping yourself grounded in your studies and also new friendships and all you said clubs and all the different things that college tends to bring? How are your grades? How are you staying on top of stuff? Your mom told me to ask.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten to a groove yet, I think, with this college thing. It is only, the first 4 weeks in. So I'm still trying to get I've adjusted to everything except the academics. And, I don't know if there's any grades really in yet. So, and there's no way to check. You actually have to ask your professors. There's no website you go onto. It's olden days sort of stuff. But, yeah, I think though that I've started to sort of find my groove. I was out at breakfast at one of the dining halls, and I was doing an assignment, and I was taking notes on it and just reading it, and it just felt right. I was like, I feel like I'm sort of getting back into that feel for academics that's been lost for the past 3 months over the summer.
Glenn, are there any tricks that you employ to keep your life maybe organized or on track? Obviously, both of you have a lot going on. With work, maybe a little bit more of a demand to be present and to be involved. Maybe Jake just says, fine, I'll get an F. I don't care. But if Glenn's not doing your job, that's going to impact quite a bit. So are there any Is there anything you do day to day to stay in front of all your obligations and responsibilities?
Well, it's pretty much just my drive. I mean, every day, like I say, I get up and I get dressed and I get ready. So I check my email every day. I make sure I do that first in the morning so I know what I have going on that day. I know what customers need. I try to stay ahead of that. Just in life, I do keep organized, but part of that is being on a schedule. So really with caregivers, I'm on a schedule. So they come at a certain time in the morning. I get up, get ready. I have benchmarks on time where I want to get ready by a certain time, to get work at a certain time, to work a certain amount. I know it's just you just have to balance that. You just have to, sometimes I have a bad morning. Sometimes it's hard to get ready. It takes longer. Sometimes the cough assist machine's not too pleasant. Those days, you just have to push yourself. Drink an extra cup of coffee to get you going or whatever you need.
Glenn, it sounds like you have a pretty regimented, like you were saying, there are certain time checkpoints or whatever that you want to hit. Are your caregivers pretty in line with those? And, how do you communicate that clearly to make sure they're on the same page as you?
Yeah, I'm not really like a slave driver with it, but I'm just saying you have to put some kind of time on certain things. Like it takes a long time to get me up and get me ready. And I can't get out of the house at 12 o'clock when I get to the office at 12:30 and leave at 3:30. So they understand. Most caregivers understand it, and the ones that don't are the ones that I can't really have anyway because I need them to support me and help me with what I need.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes what happens with caregivers is it just doesn't match up, and you just have to deal with it until you can fix that problem.
One thing I want to be sure to chat about, Jake, we're going back to you on this one. In another conversation, you had talked about how you and your family approach the idea or the need to have caregivers on a pretty regular daily basis for you while on campus or at college. What or how did you guys find PCAs or, friends to help every day for you?
I think our mindset with it was we don't necessarily need a licensed medical, caregiver to necessarily take care of me. So we actually found students that go to this college to take care of me. We reached out to the athletic department and asked, would any of your students be interested in helping out? And all of them said that they were interested. Some that we interviewed, and I had 3 interviews in a row where I was like, hire this person, like just do it now. There's no debate, just do it. And I definitely can say that I have some of the best caregivers that I've had.
So how does it work for them? They rotate days or hours or what's a typical week look like for you in terms of maybe how many caregivers are helping you throughout the week?
Yeah, so at the moment, I have 5 caregivers. 4 of them are students, and one of them is someone who's about my mom's age. She lives right across the street from Wheaton, so she's able to be here quickly if I ever need something, and none of the students are able to because of class or any other obligations. And so usually it's the students that get me up and put me to bed at night. And then sometimes I'll text them if I need something like, can you open this water bottle for me? Or I have to use the restroom or things like that.
I imagine it's going to be kind of neat to have fellow students along the journey with you. Allows maybe friendships and connections throughout campus, I bet.
Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely been meeting a lot of their friends. 2 of my PCAs are on the swim team. And so I've been meeting freshmen on the swim team. And they've sort of becoming, I've sort of become my friends. And then my PCA's roommates have also been getting to know. And just my PCAs, I feel like, are definitely some of my closest friends right now.
When you guys think about, hiring a caregiver, doing those interviews that you talk about, what's an important element that you're looking for with somebody that's going to be in your corner to help you, whether they're licensed or unlicensed. Glenn, when you said 25 years with caregivers, what are some maybe characteristics or different attributes that are non-negotiable for you?
Well, definitely a positive attitude, because if they don't have that to start with, how are they going to help you? They're not going to be able to come to work. They're not going to help your spirits at all. So I like to inspire people, so I try to inspire my caregivers. So I like people that are receptive of that as well. I like people who they understand, they can communicate. They'll tell me if they're not happy or if I need to do something a different way. Because with being disabled for as long as I have and getting help for as many years, it's pretty particular how you help me because of the condition that I have, the way you use the sling, the way the lift goes under me, the way you put my pants on, those things. So I need someone that can listen and learn from that.
Sure.
And someone that's fairly physical fit is better too, because they have to manhandle me a lot, pushing me around, putting my pants on and things like that. So that does definitely help too.
I wouldn't say I have to, but I do look forward to pushing Kyle around whenever I can.
That's funny.
Jake, what about you? What are some things that you and your family were looking for during those interviews?
There were certain things that those PCAs said in the interviews that made me think, like, I want this person taking care of me. One of them had said, if he ever wants to go swimming in the pool we have here, I'll just piggyback him in there. Or like if a building's not accessible, I'll just take him right in there. And I was like, yes, this is the type of person that I want taking care of me. That's enthusiastic about it and is willing to help me, have the college experience that I want to have. Another PCA said, I'll take him to study or, have breakfast or, watch movies and stuff like that. I was just like, yes, I want someone that's going to be a friend to me and someone that's going to be happy. And, kind of like what Glenn was talking about, that positive attitude about it is definitely what I look for. But I think above all, a friend.
That's massive, right? Especially if they're going to be hanging out with you for a couple hours a day or all day, doing all kinds of stuff to help you. Being a friend's important. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yes, they definitely need to be your friend too. That's very important. You're with that person so much, and it's pretty much like an intimate relationship in a way, because you talk about many different things because they see you at your worst and your best. So,
yeah. There have been some PCAs that have said, maybe we shouldn't hire them because I just don't really click like them, like I've clicked with a lot of the others. And I'm sure a lot of these people that we maybe don't give the job to are nice people, but they're just not people that just click with me particularly. Whereas contrasting that, other PCAs that I've interviewed, I've just said, we need to hire them now. There was no hesitation.
You guys, I want to shift gears a little bit because there was a quote from each of you that I really picked out and I really loved from some of the stuff that we were doing in our lead up to organizing this panel. And Glenn, I want to start with you. You said success is on the other side of fear. And that one just really hit me, and I wanted you to kind of explain that a little bit.
I'm just saying that you can't have self-doubt. You can't not believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself and you're scared and you won't go do what you need to do, like, say with Jake there, going to college, the way he did that. He goes there away from his parents, he hires a caregiver, and he believes in that. His success in college is because he didn't let that fear stop him from doing that. And that's just the way I look at life.
I like it so much. That's very, very powerful. And Jake, the quote that sticks out for me that you said is, don't live the diagnosis, live the life. And I wanted to hear a little more about that from you.
There are days when I'm like, this sucks and I hate this. And that's completely normal. And I think that's totally fair to have that sometimes. But, you can't let that consume every day. Bad days are going to happen, and they're just going to happen. And it's okay to be upset about them, and it's okay to be angry. But, you could be angry for 10 years and get nothing done, but then that's 10 years of life that goes by, And so you just want to live it in a positive way. The fact that I'm in a wheelchair really isn't on my mind that often most days. I just think about it like I have some challenges, but I feel like disabilities are given to resilient people that can handle that sort of thing, and that is able to adapt to certain things.
That strong will, I can feel it from both of you guys. There's a difference between Duchenne and Jake, or Duchenne and Glen. They're two different things, and I can feel your personalities and the Glen and the Jake coming through despite the Duchenne.
I would love to give you guys an opportunity to just speak freely. Both of you are completely different stages of life. We know listeners at home are going to relate to one or the other, or maybe they're somewhere in the middle, or maybe on the younger side, 10, 15, something like that. How would you encourage other families or other individuals to live beyond their circumstances, whether it be Duchenne or, that one symptom that really bothers them or whatever it may be?
If someone is really suffering or very sad with having Duchenne, it's very important to be empathetic to them, of course, but need to tell them that they have to get over it, because you can't change your diagnosis. You're not going to be able to change it. At this moment, you can't. We can hope for a cure, and there are many strides towards that, which I'm very happy about. But you can't. You have to prepare yourself and say, I can't fix this in life, so what choice do I have? You can either be miserable or be happy. You have to have that will and just say, I can't change this, so how can I make the most of it? How can I be content with my situation? And pretty much what they would have to do is figure out what they want to do in life, get a passion or something that they're interested in, put their energy towards that, whatever they choose. But it's very important for them to find a passion in life and something that's going to drive them, something that makes them happy, something that they're going to pursue in life. And I think it's just helping someone get to that point. Keep convincing them and showing them by example how many people make it in life despite having disabilities. There are so many people in life that succeed with many adversities. Even a normal person or someone that without any physical ailments, they struggle in life too. Everyone has a struggle in life. Everyone has to accept who they are and move on from that.
Yeah.
Glen, I love the fact that you say that you got to show them by example, because if you explain that to somebody, like, it could easily go in one ear and out the other. But if you give them incredible example like you do, then it really hits home, right? That's how it gets done.
Right, exactly right. If they see someone else doing it, that's going to convince them that they could do it too.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I would just say to a lot of kids with, whether it's FA or Duchenne, any rare disease, any disability, is just try things. Don't not do something just because you think you can't do it, because that's just it. Like, you think you might not be able to, but you may be able to. So why not just give it a try? And I'll give 2 examples. When I tried out for theater for the first time, before I went to the audition, I was like, well, how am I going to dance? How is, that sort of aspect of it going to work? And I was like, well, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm just going to figure it out as I go along. And it was a lot easier than I thought it would be, because all of the directors were like, just try and adapt as much as you can, do the dance moves, make it look like other people are doing it, or make it look like you're doing it as everyone else is, even though you're not standing up like them. Then I tried out for tennis one time, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to try this, and, maybe it'll end up like last time. And unfortunately, it didn't. But I said afterwards, I was like, you know what, at least I tried that. at least I was willing to say, I'm going to try this and I'm not going to give up just because I think I might not be able to. At least I, decided to give it an attempt.
And one thing that Tanner talked about a couple of days ago, he listed out a bunch of stuff he's been able to do. And I want to say, I believe he's 16, right? And he's gone skiing and whitewater rafting, and I don't even know the whole list, but I looked at that list and I'm like, how in the what? So I loved hearing you guys talk about that. Now I want to give some credit to Tanner for just the way you guys go after it. Sure, it's no idea what's going to happen, but I'm going to try it out and we're going to make the most of it and see what happens. And I know we need to wrap up here, but I do have one last question for you. I'm going to throw this one to Glenn as a nod to our missing friend, Tanner, who couldn't join us today. And a lot of boys sitting at home right now. How in the world do we approach or think about dating in the context of disability? How have you managed that?
Well, pretty much like anyone else. I meet girls when they go out. Sometimes they go on online dating. I'll meet someone. The way I look at it, you have to be honest with your situation. You got to be honest about your disability to someone, because that's very, very important. At least to me, it's very important to put that out there at first. Dating, it's all about connection. It's connecting to someone. But the mind is really what you need to connect with. So that's the toughest part, I think, with dating. For me, my examples, when I date girls, sometimes they really like my life. They like me, but they don't really understand the full situation of me being disabled. They don't understand how really the difficulties that are there with that. Like, how do I balance between a girlfriend and a caregiver? Those kind of questions. But a girlfriend, sometimes they want to take care of you too, which is fine. I don't know. It's an interesting world. It's just, it's hard to find that perfect person that can actually accept your disability and help you in that way and love you too.
And I'm sure there's no perfect or exact or even right answer, but I can't help but think back to Jake's comment a few months ago. You just figure it out as you go, right?
Yeah, you got to try. You got to go out, put yourself out there. That's what I always say. Dress up and put yourself out there. Go out there and flirt with girls. Yep.
Freshman year for you, Jake. Have you been flirting yet?
No. I I suck at flirting. I don't know how any of that works. I just kind of let them, come to me and see if that sticks. See if that works.
I hope that works out for you.
Yeah,
Me too.
Jake, I feel like I'm the same way. Sometimes I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, people like, Glenn's like, oh yeah, I date all the time and I'm, all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So, I feel you on that one, but I also think it's a matter of what you were talking about earlier. Just give it a shot. If it doesn't work, then at least I tried, right? Like, I think it's a very similar thing.
That's right. And I got into online dating recently, so maybe soon.
All right. You'll have to keep us up to date.
Maybe some stories next year.
Yeah, I'll probably be coming in with some bad first dates, bad second dates pretty soon.
Hey, everything's a lesson in life, right? We learn from everything, good or bad.
Right, exactly.
Well, gentlemen, thank you again for being a part of the conversation today, allowing Kyle and I to direct the conversation and just talking openly and from your heart and just sharing life with so many viewers and listeners today. Jake and Glenn, it's been an absolute pleasure connecting with you today, and I'm grateful that you've joined us. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, thank you.
It's clear that the rare disease journey is a constant balance between working towards a cure and focusing on developing the person behind the disease. Glenn and Jake are incredible examples of developing the quality of life we're all striving for. We hope you got as much out of this conversation as we did. Thank you again to CureDuchenne for including the two disabled dudes in the 2021 CureDuchenne Futures Conference. Check out our show notes for links to CureDuchenne. Please share this episode if someone you know might be interested. Until next week, keep living with urgency. Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. This show is possible with your support. Visit twodisableddudes.com to donate.
Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app.